And when you're in that natural environment, it basically turns your brain off. It's like, okay, this is good. There is no internal commentary. You can just rest. You can hear the wind through the trees. You can see the eagle in the sky. You can look at that mountain range and you're just there. It doesn't really compel mind movement. And that's really the secret here is finding a practice, a method, a skillful means in which we could experience the inspiration. But if we want to explore, what is inspiring and what is inspiration, again, spirit in you, it's really about dropping down into the moment, finding now. If you find now, you'll have the inspiration and you'll have that sense of joy and that sense of peace. All of these things kind of come through as soon as we find now. So the problem is our mind. Again, a lot of my work in teaching meditation and teaching, qigong is helping people focus their mind. And the mind plays a game where it either wants you in the future or it wants you in the past, and it really, really resists now. It's not interested in now. The ego itself really demands mind movement. And so if you stop, thinking, if you will, ruminating and doing all of this stuff, you literally experience like a fear of ego death. So then the mind projects forward, the mind, goes backward. Any thought that's about the future has an energy of anxiety. Any thought that's about the past has an energy of depression, loss, and sorrow. Even if it's a positive memory, it has that seed. Oh, I remember those days. That was a good time. But it's always said with a melancholy. So that's the trick the brain plays. The problem solving organ between your ears is all about imagination and memory. And then we identify with it. We're like, oh, yeah, that's me. You are not your thoughts. You are that which perceives your thoughts. You're not your body. You're not your possessions. You're not your gender. You're not your race. You are experiencing those things, but you're really not those things. Ultimately, what you are is I am. You are a little dollop of eternal consciousness, momentarily residing in basically rotting flesh. And so what do you want to identify as and identify with? That's the trick. That's the crux. That is the end result of our whole practice. When we start talking about cultivation is like the highest, objective here. We restore the body so it's functional. And we'll talk about why that is so important. Sure, we work on longevity, so we've got some juice. But at the end of the day, it's about cultivating a higher sense or higher purpose or a much more dynamic definition of self, which is ultimately seeing this I am, this little dollop. In the yoga community, they say namaste. That's, assuming, okay, I say namaste. Well, that means, the light in me acknowledges and sees the light in you. But did you really see the light in you? It takes work to cultivate that. And if not, you're better off saying namaskara, which is more like a salute. But the goal is, in fact, to see that, to hold to that and identify with that. And there is a process in which we can undo the accumulation of ego and your story, basically, and then slowly slice it back, kind of like an onion. And we get to the core of it. And there you are in your most brilliant, in your eternal self, in your power. And it's like, yes, this is the place I come from. This is the place I move from. That in itself is the goal of this, whole process here. It's the refining. So if we talk about that, when we look at, finding this inspiration, which is always in now. So let's talk about now. If you're in a situation where it's inspiring and you look up at the clock, it's like, okay, I'm having a great time. I'm really drilling down on this. This is exciting. I'm time flies. Time just moves. You've just dropped into now through this inspiration, through this presence. You can even use an analogy like, okay, I'm waiting at home. The AC guy is going to come and let's just come up with something. And maybe my ankle's killing me, because I twisted it or something. So I got the ankle hurts, I'm walking around, limping around the house, kids running around, chasing the cat. And the air conditioning guy is not here. And I'm looking at my watch. I'm looking at my watch. So I am not in now by any means. My body is tormenting me, and I want it to be, where's this guy? Where is this guy? I'm fighting now, not finding now. And then all of a sudden the doorbell rings. I run, oh, it's the air conditioning dude. It's not. It's, wow, it's my buddy from the old neighborhood. It's Jay or something like that. Wow, dude, what are you doing? Even doing in Arizona? Oh my God, come on in and here, let me make you some coffee. Let's. And what happens? Well, number one, my ankle doesn't hurt anymore. Number two, I look and I say, oh crap, it's 10 o'clock and the air conditioning guy is knocking on the door. And an hour went by with no pain and no impatience. Why? I was brought into the moment by this inspiring situation. That's the trick. And we don't even realize that. We just move on. Oh, that was interesting. But wait a minute, there's a secret there. There's a part of the equation that was just revealed to managing the mind and managing reality as a whole, which is understanding the importance of now and not randomly dropping into it. That's what happens. We'll just randomly. I didn't plan on, my buddy showing up and inspiring me. It just happened. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I move on. Wait a minute. There's a secret there. What happens if you had the ability to just push that button to drop into now, not randomly, but deliberately and at will? That's the trick. That's the key. That's the safe space, if you will, that pulls you out of the chaos of tomorrow, yesterday, and all of this nonsense, physical discomfort, whatever. What can I do to bring me into the moment? And is it something that is maybe like luck, or is it an equation? Is it a science? That's a reproducible result with a very specific method. That's what we're stalking. Now, I mean, I train people from all over the world, pretty high level, politicians and celebrities and athletes and really, on one way from a material world, very wealthy people, and no matter what that demographic is, they'll fly in a helicopter, they'll do whatever, they still are broke. It's like, oh, so how are you? Good. I can see they're carrying your luggage and I can see you came in a helicopter, but man, you're busted up. Your mind is tormented. Your body looks really uncomfortable. And ow, you look really pensive. And let's have a seat. Sit down. You want to do this? Yeah. Well, I heard and you're going to do this meditation with me and you come highly recommend. Great. Have a seat. And they're looking around and I'm just standing in this wonderful, training hall. It's a beautiful place. It's like a church. But they're like, where? On the floor. Just to tell them they have a seat in most cases is pretty rough. Then the work I have to do to bring them back into now. And they all have that same concern. I all give them the same conversation. The power, the wealth, the happiness is all found right here on the mat. It's all found sitting here. It's not what you have. It's not who you are. It's how you are and how present you are. Okay, what do we do? Well, there's a method. It's like making or baking a cake. It's not random. It's all laid out one piece at a time. And what I'm finding is that method is, I was introduced to it and the importance of it and the emphasis of it. I think it was 1980, 79, 80. It was the first time I heard this conversation. And I was just a kid. It made no sense, by the way. No position or amount can recognize the neglect, a neglected mind and body. That was a quote from my grandmaster. It's like, okay, I just want to learn cool moves. But over the years, I realized that that's true, that your wealth is ultimately found in the moment. The quality of life is found in the moment. And there's skillful means in which we can bring you into this moment. And that's the goal. That's the whole concept of, finding now and then slowly unearthing this I am. Because I am alive, great, it's a segue. I do a lot of work with my different clients, and I've got clients that have been with me for 30 years, and a lot of my clients, they don't quit, they leave, they train, and they pass. So a part of my work is to be there during your restoration, your longevity, your cultivation, and your departure. So one of my clients, he's almost 90. And he looked at me last week and he says, Mike, I'm wondering, as I go through this and in my next chapter, I don't know, is my life over? I think my life is over, and he's fine, but he knows his health is a little bit, declining. And, what do you think? And what do I like? Wait, tell me that again. He says, yeah, well, I think my life might be coming to an end. I think my life might be over, Mike. And he was, his eyes were tearing up and it was a sincere moment. And I said, well, your life might be over is incorrect. You are life. Your life. Your life might be over. This life might be over. This momentary expression of your little experience might be over, just like everything else. Last year is over. Yesterday is over, but you're still here. So making that jump, your life cannot be over because you're life. You're not the life you're living. You're the life you are observing. You are the life. That is finding now. Now, understanding I am is found in the moment. Keeping to that throughout your.
Trying to get that snowball from Titan. Don't we have another snowball?
I gave a whole one.
We have someone who didn't. Yeah. There you go. Someone's trying to get a snowball, I guess. But that to me is the real trick. And that becomes my real, let's say, primary responsibility with my clients, my family, my group, is to say, okay, we got to remember that throughout this whole process, because that creates a mental trajectory. We have to kind of first identify, unveil, dig it out, see it. Oh, wow, I am. There's only been you. It's always been now. It's always been you. There's this constant. We need to have the skillful means in which we can see this constant and keep to the constant. And it creates a tremendous inner peace, because your life situation is kind of crazy and unpredictable. Look at what we've been through, like in the last year. It's like crazy town. And okay, I'm good, because nothing, as far as I'm concerned, has changed. The constant, I am, there it is. This is a crazy clown show, but you know what? I'm all right. I'm good. And we want that like inner peace in a battlefield kind of feeling. It's real important. And anybody that's ever experienced anything like that, which I have, that kind of combat and hand to hand and all. If you don't have that inner peace, you're done. You're not going to make it, So you might be moving, and covered in blood and dirt, but inside you're good. There's like all kinds of space. Even it becomes slow motion, So, and that's the trick. When you find that now, there is no time. I know this sounds crazy, but there, like I talked about with my buddy visiting, and I looked, it's like, oh my God, it's been an hour. There is no time. That's an important thing, which really allows you to cope with what people would perceive as extremely uninspiring and stressful situations. But no, you're in, as they call it, the zone. We find the zone randomly, unfortunately, usually only during extreme moments of inspiration or desperation. And there's no middle, just, let's go into this room now. We don't do that. That's the key. That's what I'm trying to share with you. I'm just a regular guy, just like everybody else. I'm a nut, and I happen to be extremely young or passionate. I'm Italian, for Christ's sake. And so there's nothing casual about me. You should hear me with my son, it's just always, screaming in Italian at him to get him to do what he's got to do. And there's passion there, and that's okay. I'm doing it purposely. I'm good with it, but I'm not out of control with it. In other words, there's nothing wrong with being a passionate individual, totally getting into it. But I know when it comes down to it, you can flip that button and drop into that zone, and be in that space outside of time and outside of even physical influence. But you got to build that muscle. You've got to build that skill. It's our birthright. We all have that. We all have that app on our phone, if you will, but we didn't really figure out how to click it and operate it. And that app is the internal alchemy of understanding how to hack into, and let's say, past that autonomic nervous system and hack into your own software. And there's techniques, there's phases and techniques. And that's what I really want to talk to you about. And we run all these, programs, 1,000-hour programs that are designed to work you there. But here's the problem, or the challenge, or the opportunity, is things are kind of crazy now. Things are getting harder. So normally what I would reserve for somebody who's gone through, okay, you've learned the nomenclature, you understand energetic anatomy and physiology, all right, great. Now we've kind of got the energy going in the body, right? You have basic prerequisites, great. Now let's work on the cultivation, the higher concepts of contemplation, meditation. We don't have that time. So what I'm trying to do now is say, okay, I've got to just cut straight into it with like a spiritual first responder, and it's like first aid. It's a box with a big red cross on it. I crack it open and it's like, all right, clear, the adrenal shot, Pulp Fiction. It's a lot like that. And that's kind of what's happening. So what I'd like to do, what I need to do, what I'm compelled to do, and what I keep seeing happening is that we've got to kind of cut to the close here and start to share and simplify, maybe, because some of us don't have the complete background. But we've got to come up with a way in which I can provide you with these tools, these methods in which we could coexist within the uncertainty and the pressure of this exponentially changing world. It's just really going, okay? That's okay. Everything is about change. As long as the center is solid, we're good. So how do we find the center? We find the center by finding now. And then which in that now, we go back into I am. So there's phases. And so what I want to do is kind of take you through this, if I can compress it. So today, I just want to introduce you to the necessity of it and its possibility. And that, look, if we can develop a couple of real practical, skillful means, some breathing techniques, some walking techniques, some meditation techniques that you can do anywhere. So you don't have to put your shirt, your coin on and bow into the east and light a frankincense. And we don't have time for that. We have to have something we can do on the way to your next meeting. We have to have something we can do while you're in the middle of it. So we don't have the luxury of checking out, going to the classroom, learning, and then running back into the battlefield and say, oh yeah, well, this is how you put a magazine in we can't do it. We have to do it now. And so what I've been really feverishly working on, because again, a lot of my clients that I deal with, they fly in, they pay an extremely large amount of money. I get to see them once, and that's it. That's it. They're back. They're gone. Might see them on TV, but I'm not talking to them. They're done. And so how do I give them that one pill, that one shot, that one piece? And so I've been refining this now for about a year on what is the most important information I can provide these people. And then like, okay, let's turn around. Let's do it with our community. Let's get them moving. And we can work our way backwards and backfill all of the different technical techniques. But what is the end game? The end game is, again, I am. That's it. Now, how do we find that? How do we find now? Within now, we find I am. So, well, number one, using the skillful means of breath work is probably the easiest thing we can do right now. Using the skillful means of meditation techniques that have been proven, and also using the skillful means of like Tumo or primal breath work to change our energetic structure while we're doing this. The pressure outside is so much greater than the pressure inside. So what's happening, it's like a cell, and the cellular wall isn't strong enough to deal with the invasion, the pathogenic invasion, in this case, the psychic invasion of the world we're living in. So the eyes taking, just seeing stuff. I mean, go on your phone, look at the news, and you can't unsee some of this stuff. You know what I mean? And it's like, and that's here now. You got it. It's on the cloud. That's you now. The things you hear, it's insanity, and it's kind of like you got to almost protect yourself. Smell, taste, feel. A lot of this stuff is not deliberate. It's very random. And you're basically the city of 9 gates, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's what you have. Orifice, things going in, going out. You're the mayor of the city, and you have nobody watching the gates. So you get all this random data that basically enters your cellular memory. It's with you. So you think you've got this wacky imputation and false thought, just kind of out of left field. You don't. That's in you. It's not here, it's here. It's maybe if it's aggression, it was in the liver. Maybe it was shock, anxiety, it's in the heart. Maybe it's worry. Now it's dropping into the spleen. Fear, it's in the kidneys. Grief, it's in the lungs. It's there. And then when you're kind of doing your thing, trying to be present, which is difficult because you've got this carnival bubbling up on the forehead screen of all of this stored data in your cellular memory. Random, unwanted data. It's like a virus, coming in, psychic, spiritual virus. So what do we need to do? We need to build our spiritual immune system. We need a different kind of vaccine, a spiritual vaccine to protect us from this crazy stuff. How do you do it? It's really about focus and pressure. And it's about having more going on inside than what's going on outside. Case in point. We've all done this. You're so engrossed in something. You're really trying to figure this thing out, right? And your kid's like, Dad, and you're just trying to get Dad, and he's pulling, right? Phone's ringing. No, you're engrossed in this thing. Totally. So no matter what's going on outside, your internal process is greater, right? But again, you did that, but you didn't mean to. It happened to you. You're like, oh yeah, what, Mike? And then you go. What happens if you can do that deliberately, kind of protect yourself from unwanted data, unwanted information entering you? These are skillful means. This is one of the tricks. This is a very important piece that we can acquire, we can accomplish, again, through meditation and breath work and, very simple practices that we can drop into and say, yep, I got to get into this state. This is killing me. This is crazy town. Not good. I'm going. And I do it, because I'll come home and, I work and I hike and I climb mountains and I teach. I'll go 25,000 steps in a day, 2,000 vertical feet. I'll do all of this crazy stuff. Then I'll come home and I've got a 6-year-old that wants me to play soccer, and I'm into hour 14 now. And I'm like, okay, all right, let's do this. So I go, I sit, I do my power breath, I do my meditation. I basically just feel the pressure and wait. He's not waiting. So I'm sitting there doing my breath and he's kind of on me, his knees on my shoulder and he's grabbing my head. Doesn't matter. At this point, I don't even know he's there. You just cut out, power up, then drop in. I can do that. I have to do that. That's my responsibility as a father to my son. So it's not even about the fact that I'm blown out. I'm done. It's the 14th straight day. Nope, he comes first. Well, what are you going to do? So you have to go deep and you have to know how to manipulate your own energy. You have to know how to clear your mind. So I use this stuff out of self-preservation all the time. I just have to, the life I live. And it works and it's simple. And I think if everybody here, basically, if the world knew that we had this app on the cell phone you call your body, and you were like, wow, this is software, your brain, click the damn thing, learn it, apply it, and a lot of your suffering will be gone, and it's not that hard. What's the goal? The goal is, if I can do this, it's about elevation. Because if you think about it, all of us, all we want is to have an experience. And, is it that you want a lot of stuff? Is it that you want a lot of people and fame? No, you're hoping these things will provide this key chain reaction. And the chain reaction first begins with, and the most important part for all of us here, and anybody you happen to be in a relationship with, even in this call, okay, is you must be able to understand and be pleasant, and understand and experience pleasure. That's number one. No pleasure, you're not pleasant. What do you mean no pleasure? Look, if I was here and I wasn't having fun, and this wasn't a pleasure for me because I had a railroad spike in my head and I haven't evacuated my bowels in 2 weeks, how fun would this be? I'd be all, anyways, guys, yeah. It's not going to happen. You have to deliver, and it's going to run through you only when you're in that state. We're building basically a state of almost grace, as it's referred to as. So number one, I have to understand basically and be able to experience pleasure. And as we age, we lose our relationship with our body. and your body is no longer pleasant to be in. And maybe it's a trick, it's God's way of getting us to willingly move out. So that's our goal. Did you change the screen, Leone?
Yes.
Yeah, can you put it back? Thank you. She's always getting creative. And so being pleasant is really the key, but it's hard to be pleasant if your body is tormenting you. Okay. So I'll wait for you to change it.
I'll have to come here.
Okay. Because I'm not that excited about looking at me. There you go. Yeah, I'd rather see you, and I can see whether or not you're even listening, who's smoking a cigar, who's doing what there. Look at all of you. Okay, so that's a real key piece, is having a skillful means in which we could go back to enjoying being in our body. It's real important. And it doesn't take a lot, but it's an imperative. If you cannot experience pleasure, and that's basically all we want. You go out for a walk, you call a friend, you have a meal, you play with your pet, it's a pleasure. And with that pleasure, it's like throwing one more, like a log into that fire of inspiration. But without that, it's really hard. Because if you can't experience pleasure mentally, physically, and emotionally, you're not going to be pleasant. Your life isn't going to be pleasant, and you won't be pleasant to be with. And then that creates a chain reaction of lonely, because now you isolate. When you isolate, it's really hard to be inspired, because there's a part of us that truly knows we should connect. We feed from each other, very important to stay connected and have that interaction. But guess what? You're not pleasant, and you're not a pleasure to be with. So I don't know. I'm not showing up. Don't be that guy. So this number one is pleasant. Understanding that you can have pleasure fixing the body to a certain degree, where at least it's a function and it's a pleasure to be in. And most importantly, you're not being tormented by your own mind. That's it. That's the most important piece. And learning how to cut that is really important. So I would like to, as we go through this process, because I'm trying to show you, look, let's cut through this. We're going to do 6 simple steps, and basically 3 simple practices that can cut right through this for anyone, even the uninitiated, should be able to go through this process and have some type of vaccine from the crazy, if you will. Number one, once you experience the ability to be pleasant, first pleasure, then pleasant, only then will you experience peace. But you're not going to be in a peaceful situation if you're kind of like, oh, and your stomach's killing you, or your mind's tormented because your taxes were filed improperly, or whatever the heck's going on in your head. Not pleasant at all. So not peaceful. The fundamentals for functioning are peace. You can't really do anything well unless you're in a state of peace. Now, at first, you try to create a peaceful environment, right? Because your mind isn't all that peaceful. Let's go functionate. Let's create a peaceful environment at least. So the external, the senses aren't being overrun. And now I'm in this stress state. So great. But really, it'd be good if the peaceful environment was between your ears. There's really where we want. The peaceful environment between your ears is actually a chain reaction from basically experiencing pleasure and being pleasant. This is good. It's like someone who's kind of shifting around in their chair and it's not on the right angle and it's kind of too far back, and they finally get it. Okay, this is pleasant. And then they go like this. Now they're at peace. So understanding how to line up these things and how important they are, and the chain reaction, how they go into all of these different compartments within your own awareness, is a real key piece. Nice tie-in with word peace. See what I did there? So pleasure to peace. Next piece that starts is now you can actually experience joy, and not the temporary joy. Oh, yay, but you're in a joyful state. It will show up in the eyes, by the way, too. People that smile and that are pleasant and that are at peace basically attract everything. Not just other people, just stuff, whether it's an animal, whether, it's wealth, whether it's friendship. It's just, you're that person. You're pleasant, you're peaceful, and you're joyful. People want that. They're like, ooh, I like that energy. How do I get some of that? And that's a good thing. You want to be the light in the space. All right. We'll talk about how important it is to, have boundaries within that, because you'll also start to acquire psychic vampires that want that juice, but that's later. But only then can you experience this concept of love. Love is a tricky thing, because first understanding that, how do I get this body to be a pleasure to be in, so I can be at peace with now, and now I can kind of enjoy the moment. It's a real important chain reaction. We experience pieces of this like fragmented pieces, but it's never lined up. You actually line it up, you cue it up deliberately, especially if you know, I'm not always like that. I want to be like that, but I need to be like that. Like, for this situation here, I've got someone coming in, or I've got a responsibility. I really got to honor this. Whatever. I've got to be at my best. Well, at least you know what your best looks like. Your best isn't, your hair is perfect. No, it's number one, you can understand and you can be pleasant. You can be peaceful. You can be joyful. From there, you can experience love. But the love really is about the illusion of I love you. And it's not so much that I love you per se. I have to first love me. I can only give you what I have an abundance of. So you can be the best person in the world. We've all heard this. It's not you, it's me, right? When in the old days, when someone breaks up with you, not that that's ever happened to me. That doesn't happen to me, but probably to you. And so, it's not you, it's me. I don't love myself enough. Maybe it's true. I don't know. But you see, that's what they're kind of pointing to, like the emotionally bankrupt. If you are love, because all of these things, I am pleasant, I am peace, I am joy, and I'm love, I'm actually love. Well, you share that with everything around you. And sure, you can get a reflection in kind. And sure, you have partnership and compatibility, but really love isn't as isolated and simple as we think it is. It's you. If you're love, you'll notice, you'll experience love, and you'll get the reflection of love from others. It's equal. So it's a real important chain reaction to create. So I can finally experience pleasure, which allows me to be pleasant, peaceful, joyful, and I can experience love. Now, that is the awakening of that namaste, or that bao yi, or that dollop of I amness. It's like, because really what it is all of these things kind of give you a chance to cut away from the ego, the thoughts, the identity, the gender, the race, the economics, all that, your title at work. That's all just mundane, necessary stuff. I get it. But really, you start to see, oh no, this is me. This is going to become very important as we age, because all of those other trappings, which is, I'm this, I'm that, I'm Italian, I'm a man, I'm a father, I've got a gray beard, it doesn't matter. That's all external. They're all wrapping around this dollop, this diamond. So this is you, a little dollop of eternal light, hits the earth, boom, to manifest and experience form. As soon as it hits the earth, boom, the dirt wraps around it, the mud wraps around it, no more light. And the more the ego develops, the thicker it gets, the less you see your own source. You just think, especially, but like, remember when you're in the teen, you're like looking in the mirror, sucking in your cheeks and trying to be sexy. You need to, because that's necessary for procreation, to completely be blinded by form to create form. Then as we age, it loosens. And if you think you're this dollar, the mud, and as it starts to loosen and crack, you're like, oh God, you can get depressed, because your identity, I am my job, I am my sexy body, I am my wealth, you're not. And guess what? Those things are all impermanent and they're falling to shit. Well, that has a huge impact on you. So to be graceful as we go through these seasons of life is as this cracks, this light gets brighter. It beams through the cracks. You can see it in people. I don't care how old you are or how pretty you are or whatever. I don't see it. I see you. Like, you can feel their energy. And it's beautiful. It's entertaining. It's inspiring. It's yummy. You want to get it. And I don't care, because it's like, wow, you're amazing, man. Yeah, but she's 87, dude. I don't care. It's a great human being. Let's hang out. That's what we're looking for. You become more light. You start off as light. You must manifest in Prakriti, the world of form, a wuxing, boom, covered with the necessary gear, the goo, to basically have your momentary experience of form, that begins to dry and crack. The light should shine through it again. Cultivate the light. Don't identify with the mud. And we do, though. Our whole world is about it. If you don't look good in a thong, you're useless. That's the message we get. I, however, look great in a thong, so I'm not as worried about that. But if you don't, society is like, get out. We only want beautiful youth. Well, that's really scary because it's like Lord of the Flies. No one's going to stay on that island. So what we need to do is we need to say, yeah, that's cool and that's a phase and it's necessary for reproduction, but I'm in this body to have this experience long enough to recover this light. The sooner you can become the light, the better. Why wait? Why not recover the light at 15? You know, that'd be awesome, because think of all the suffering you wouldn't go through. But definitely by the time we hit like 58, it's your number one job. Your number one job is to realize your nature. I am. I am now, and I am constant. And that creates a very powerful state of grace. And then as you start to become more and more, let's say, aware of and familiar with and have a relationship with that, let's say, realm of being, this realm of being, there's space. It's important. It's cool. It's an opportunity for all of us to grow and the eternal consciousness to have these experiences. Yeah, but still, there's space. It's your life is not over. Your life, constantly re-identifying, recalibrating. I'm not the. There's a thing called Buddhi yoga. All right, Buddhi is discerning. I am not. A lot of the beginning level is I'm not this, I'm not that. First level is the discerner, Buddha, the discerner. I'm not my body. I'm not this life. I am life. I'm not that job. I'm not a prince. That's cutting away from all of the things that detract from the light. Very important piece. So as we go through this and we experience being pleasant, we experience the peace of that, we experience the joy of it, we experience the love that comes from it, then all of a sudden we start to understand compassion. If I see my light, I see your light, and I identify you as that. I can see me in you, I can see you in me, and I can see it's much bigger than just these momentary separations. Now, we're all one, we all come from one source. So if you can say the source of all reality is the sun, which is ultimately light, but each one of those light rays are individual rays, by the way, right? Photons coming down, individual and forever individual, momentarily manifesting. That light ray hits the world of form. Basically, it creates a prism, like a crystal, and then there's your primary colors, and it's a momentary expression, but the light goes back. So I can see that. I can expect, I can appreciate that. And now all of a sudden there's a compassion, because it's like, look, I know I'm going through this and it's tough and I'm in a human body in this form. And wow, all I really wanted to do was to exist, stand out momentarily, but the price is pretty heavy, all beginning with that damn first chakra. And this is rough, man. And you know what? You're doing it too. Congratulations. This is tough. You start to develop almost a compassion and a deep respect for anything and anybody that was willing enough to go through this battlefield called form in an effort to evolve. It's a university, and this you happen to be on the Earth campus right now. And we're all together, we're all going through our little story, exactly what you needed. So if we can evolve that and become more conscious of that and become aware of the whole, okay, yeah, there's compassion here because I can feel it. I can see it. I know what you're going through. Well, I mean, what would happen if that was like how we rolled? All of the stuff that we're going through right now in this crazy world would just dissolve. Now, I know, imagine all the people, and I'm John Lennon right now, but you have to keep moving forward with that thinking, at least within your own mind and within your own family. Ultimately, if we can get to that point, there is a blissfulness in it where it's like, yes, this is good. Even if the external world is hard, because my family, they watch me, they think I'm nuts. I'm basically 60 and I keep working and I'm on the mat 6 a.m. I'm doing it. They're like, dude, how do you cope with it? Your life must be hell. I'm like, no, it's awesome. I'm not experiencing external stress because of it. I'm sitting right in the middle here, and this is good. I like it. Actually, I've got plenty of juice to do it because I'm coming from a place of, it's a pleasure. I'm at peace with it. It's a joy. I love this. And that's kind of gives you the juice or the inspiration, because the goal is to get to the point where this is so vibrant that it shines through you. And I know the original clump of dirt, mud, starts to crack. Who cares? As this goes, you're this inspired. Even if this falls off, which it will, you want to be in this state. You don't want it to fall off and you go with it. We call that a pose state or a ghost state, where you're hanging on to your story, would have, could have, should have, I'm wounded, this and that. Really? No, it's light. So you start cultivating that light, that rocket ship now. So the trajectory of that departure is really apparent. You don't die and go to heaven. You bring heaven with you. You don't die and go to hell. You bring hell with you. And as I was saying to my client, you said, hey, is my life over? No, you are life. But most importantly now, and for all of us really, because I told them, look, you're guaranteed, you got more years than me, is the state of mind you're in, the process you're in, what's going through your head. What are your primary concerns? What is your internal dialogue? Is it mundane? Is it greed? Is it hate? Is it fear? Is it, jealousy, all these dark things? Or is it light? What's moving in your head? Where are your priorities? So to have a skillful means, meditation, contemplation, observation, and practice that kind of seeds this. This is what's bouncing around in your head. Dharma, positive thinking, if you will, but positive thinking is a little light. It's got to be a little more technical than that. Just think positive, man, kind of, but no, you have to think maybe more significantly, deeper. Your concerns, your mind movement is not really concerned with the mundane. That's necessary. The mind movement is ultimately concerned with understanding the nature of reality. And you're inspired, and it's like an open app. It's just running. There's this rumination in the background where your primary concern is awakening. Your primary concern is identifying this I am and keeping to it. Well, if we can keep that line, that's the trajectory, because we don't really know when we're going to die. None of us do. It's how you die, the state of mind you're in, not even what kills you. The state of mind you're in during that departure has everything to do with the trajectory of that. We've talked about the bardos, they call them maybe the stages. Most people understand the 4 bardos: living, dying, death, and rebirth. Pretty famous, right? But there's technically 6. During the living bardo, there's meditation and sleeping state. Yeah. And during that is how you meditate and sleep is really going to be a reveal the state of mind after death, because you drop the body. And we're going to go into this in detail as we go through this little 6 phase process here. Oh yeah, I think we're going to do that. I don't even know, 3-5 years from now, once everyone qualifies.
Yeah, we're going to do a retreat on May 1st, and I'll send out an email. It's May 1st, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific time. So convert that to your time zone. But this is when Grandmaster Leone will dive deeper into all these. He'll go into the processes, go into the techniques. Today, he really wanted to have a conversation with you about it. So, and just Grandmaster Leone, I'll sign off here in a sec. Do want to let you know we do have a couple of questions.
Okay, so that's kind of the process here that I'm trying to provide you. Just cut to the chase and have the ability to reach that level, that mindset. It's very, very important. Watch your mind, guard your speech, keep your chi. But what trajectory? So we get to this vibrant state. We're in a state of inspiration. We're in a state of peace, love, joy. We're in a state of compassion, and then poof, you're gone. That would be best, to die in full stride, to die well, to live every day until you die, to reach just, it's not how long we live, it's how well and how vibrantly we live. That's the key. Who cares about extending life? I got clients, in their 90s, and the last thing they want to do is live longer. They're not interested. They're not buying that. Even clients in their 70s, like, yeah, I'm not really, I gotta live like this. This is hell. I mean, I don't want this. So they want to live better, not longer. Because if I can say, look, I guarantee everybody 120 years on this earth, but you're going to be a walking zombie praying for a bowel movement and it takes you 20 minutes to get out of a chair. Who's signing on for that? No one's going to sign on for that. How about this? Try to just reach your peak mentally, physically, and emotionally, whatever it might be too. We all have different abilities, you know, but that's it. You're most vibrant, you're most living, and that's what they talk about, reaching the state of, once you get to compassion, you know, then there's that blissful state. And guess what? There's an ecstasy state that reaches beyond form. So you're in that state. Here you are. Here's your light. Here's the dirt wrapped around it. And here you go. And that goes poof. And you just keep going. That's the most important part. Set your trajectory. The 4 bardos, living, dying, and death. During the living bardo is the only time you have free will. The rest is trajectory of what you did. The human being in the living realm is a unique opportunity, not a demon, not a hungry ghost, not an animal, not even a demigod or God has free will. A flower doesn't have free will. An animal doesn't have free will. You do. Oh yeah, they do. They can walk. No, they can't. They're not going to make a highway. They're not going to become a plumber. They're not going to, it's not that. It's limited. They can stir a little bit. Human realm, free will, which means you have the opportunity to realize I am while in form. Remember, formless consciousness, in an effort to exist, became unconscious form. In the human realm, formless consciousness could become conscious form. Only then can you become conscious energy, which no longer needs form. You win. You've been liberated from samsara and you've experienced moksha, liberation, or, you know, the Taoist tradition, you're an immortal. You know, the consciousness, not the body. Who wants that? That would be really harsh. So it's like, can I get into that state of mind and just roll that way? And so can I learn how to regulate, cut out the sense, you know, the influences of the senses? Can I keep that one point? That's most important. So I'm going to try to the best of my ability to distill over 30, probably, I don't even know how many years now it is, 40 something years of gathering this information and just boom. And maybe it makes a difference. Why? Because I'm a selfish man and your success is my merit. 功德回向. So it's, you know, spiritual work bringing on karmic merit. You wake up every morning and just assume you're karmically bankrupt and you have more to do. There's more good to do, because then removing your suffering is one of the most powerful things a human can do, is removing the ignorance and suffering of any sentient being. So that's a real important piece. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. I'd really like to, I mean, if it was up to me, I can just kind of boom, and you know it all, but I still have to go through this process. You said we had some questions, Leone?
Yes, we do. Margaret asks, actually, I'll start with Susan's question. There seemed to be more interest. Susan asks, how do you introduce this concept to someone who is closed off?
You don't. Next.
Speak into that. I understand what you're meaning, but please speak into that.
You can't you be it. Just be it. So I never answer a question unless it's asked 3 times. You can't eat for someone. You can't exercise for someone. You can't want for someone. But what you can do is inspire someone. Be the light. Obviously, you're not inspiring enough, or obviously you're not living it clear enough, clean enough. You know, if you are, they're going to be like, wait a minute, I want some of that. I want what they have. Then they'll ask, be it before you sell it. Don't say it, do it. And then so that's kind of, never get involved in that kind of karma, because that's also ahimsa. That's almost a form of psychic violence. You'll never see a Taoist kind of recruiter at the airport. Remember the great Taoist crusades? No, they don't do that. There is no crusades. It's like, screw you, find me on a mountaintop. If you can get there, you probably want it. And then if you wait for about 108 days, I might have something to say to you. That's kind of their approach. So don't worry about it. We're not here to recruit. But if you're the light, they'll see the light, they'll want the light. That would be my best advice.
Yes. And then that really also answers Margaret's question. She asked, how can I help a friend who's very depressed and isolated?
It's like saying, how can I help a friend who's cold? You can't warm them up. Be the fire. Just be the fire. Don't worry about them being cold. Show up, be the fire. They're with you, they're warm. Sometimes, like even my own family, I mean, look at me. I don't come from a family of sages, and so I come from a very hairy, loud family, and they're not interested in my pontification. They can care less. However, you set a frequency. People behave better when I'm there. They just do, because there's an energy there. I'm not telling them to be any way. I'm just being this way. And that creates the law of resonance. There's a frequency. Be the frequency holder. And that what's around you slowly comes into order without any desire. There's a karma yoga or wu wei, action without anything connected to the outcome. Just be. Does the sun really care if a flower opens? It's all pissed. That flower didn't open. Nope, it just shines. Some do, some don't. Wu wei.
Okay, and the next question from Sarah is, what's next? How, what's the next step? Had they, interested in knowing more, diving into the tools and techniques? How do they do that?
Okay, so the first step is, what is this? And now I'd like to share with you in more detail, of kind of how it works. And that's going to take us a little more time. I didn't even say 10% of what I planned on. I got all these notes and I didn't get it past 3. It's okay. So what's next is we'll do this little camp. We'll spend a couple hours and then we'll roll up our sleeves and start explaining to you the tools that we're going to use, and maybe open up a little more interaction too, so that you can say, okay, according to this context, how does this apply? And then ultimately, we would like you to try a 6-week process or a 6-lesson process where I go in drilling down into skillful means to find peace, skillful means to find pleasure, joy, where we can be less esoteric and more kind of let's roll up our sleeves and get busy. Do a little bit of work, but you're only going to work as hard as you can clearly see the value of the goal. So my first step is like, look, this is it. This is what it looks like if we get there. All right, now then our next step is let's get together and look at the gear we're going to need for this big summit we're going to try to do. So very much like that. Hey, this is climbing, right? All right, here's your gear, here's your harness, here's your helmet. This is how it works. Then my goal is take you up the damn mountain. So it'll take some time, not too much, but that's what's next. So we do have step 1, introduce you to a concept. Step 2, I'm going to have to show you how this works. So you have the inspiration for step 3. Let's take the journey. Let's see if we can get up there. Wow, I just had a sword drop.
Yes, that's the top of the hour. That's a little sound I have going on my phone. So let me see if we have any other questions. I just posted the link so that you can register for the retreat. Again, that's on May 1st. Starts at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So you can, on the page, it'll translate it into whatever your time zone is. So you can get registered. I'm super excited to finally dive into this at an entry level, instead of in our, advanced program. So this retreat is going to be awesome. Master Leone, let me see if we have any other questions. Christy said, here's what she shared. She said she loves the idea of being pleasant, and that's where you find peace. I'm usually a very pleasant soul. That is who I am, but I have lost the peace because unfortunate situations beyond my control have arisen. That was welcome to 2020, right? That she has to take care of, and she hates the responsibility of it. Now she knows that she can get back because she thought it was gone, and also thought that maybe it was depressed energy that she was feeling and couldn't take action on anything. So you're welcome, Christy. So awesome. Okay, so I don't see any other questions. I'll email you a link so you can also register for the retreat, so you can look for that in email. It'll be up this afternoon, and then we'll have the replay of this available on the Everyone Can Meditate, the free portal. Grandmaster Leone, was there anything that you'd like to share in closing?
No, it's just great to see so many faces and see you in your little realms there and doing your thing. And You know, I hope the best for all of you, and I really look forward to seeing you on the as we begin our little journey. So until next time, be well, everybody.
Wonderful. Blessings, everyone. Awesome.